Salam and welcome to the halftime show on Pulse 95 Radio live in the heart of Sharjah. Thank you very much for tuning in. And coming up on the show today, we do bring you the best of the best locally and internationally. And Paris Norris and James Elliot are going to be live on the show on Pulse 95 Radio. They've got a lot of things they're doing, which is really, really crazy. I'll tell you now, 7 marathons in 7 consecutive days across 7 continents, and they're doing that on the 28th of January. So we'll be talking to them today on the show and getting all the details on the halftime show of how they're going to do it, what the mental side of it is going to be consisting of, and how they've prepared themselves for this fantastic challenge ahead. Like I said, we bring the best of the best every Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, 3 to 4 UAE time. So don't go anywhere, folks, and I'll see you right after the break. Salam and welcome to the halftime show on Pulse 95 Radio live in the heart of Sharjah. We told you bring the best of the best, and these two guys here are exactly that. The craziness that's happening is unreal, and who better than to have on the show Paris Norris and James Elliot? Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Nice to see you. Nice to meet everyone.
You know what? I'll tell you guys now. 7 marathons, 7 consecutive days, 7 continents in this World Marathon Challenge. Guys, talk to me about what is happening here.
Madness. Well, look, James comes up with silly ideas, and I have a hard time saying no, and that's how this all came around. This was something that we had both seen sort of advertised somewhere, and James and I had spoken previously about doing a challenge together, and neither of us are runners. I think we had run one marathon between us or something like that, one marathon each, and we thought, let's take it on as a challenge. It's and we've been training for it for the last year.
James, talk to me. Like when you came up with this, it's not something you come up on a Sunday. What was going through your mind?
No. So look, I can't take all the credit. It's not my event, okay? It's an event that's been going since 2016. It's an official challenge each year, minus the COVID years. We don't talk about COVID these days. And I saw it on the internet. All good things come from the internet, don't they? So I saw it. Paris had rode across the Pacific a couple of years ago now. I was a bit jealous of not being able to do something like that because I couldn't take the time out for work. But this really encompassed everything. It's fitness. We can raise really good awareness for the charities, raise some good donations to help underprivileged children. And it only takes 7 days. Well, hopefully it only takes 7 days anyway. And yeah, so we can fit it in, and I can fit it around work. So it really fitted all the bill, really. And then with Paris, he's always liked an exploration. So I had to put a carrot dangling somewhere that it wasn't just running. Otherwise, I don't think he would have answered my phone.
I gotta go back to what you just said there, James. You said work. Now, for those people that are wondering, you guys are super active people. You don't do things normal, but what is your normal days looking like?
Okay, so work-wise, working a 9 to 5, but it's not really a 9 to 5. It's working all hours pretty much. I've got to keep that narrative anyway, especially if my work are listening. No, but on a serious note, I work in expanding companies to the Middle East, into Saudi, into the UAE, and Qatar. Various other jurisdictions as well. So it's pretty full on. So I work with a lot of different time zones. So I do have a lot on anyway. With this challenge, even more so, got to keep fit. You've got to keep healthy. And then recently I've had a few injuries as well. So I've had physio, I've had some hyperbaric chambers. It's been full on.
And Paris, for those that
Yeah.
haven't seen the documentaries and haven't seen all the footage on you, just tell us what you do on a normal 9 to 5, if that's even the case, before jumping into a challenge like this.
Well, 9 to 5, I'm usually asleep. But the rest of the time, when I'm not sleeping, I created a show called Guy in Dubai, which was basically like the ambition behind that was to show people through my own experiences that you can go from not knowing how to do something and being effectively a normal guy and learning, going through the process and doing something quite extraordinary. And I did that with powerboat racing. I did that with learning to fly airplanes and things like this. And then, about 3 years back, I was like, right, time for some sort of bigger challenges. And then 2023, me and some friends rode across the Pacific Ocean, 4,800 kilometers to Kauai. And that was definitely the biggest challenge at the time. And I wasn't a rower. And we created a documentary about that. It was an incredible adventure as well as a sort of athletic feat. And we're going to be doing the same with this as well. So it's going to be an 8-part docu-series because we've got 7 different locations, vastly different places from Antarctica to South Africa. And, very glad to say we'll be in Dubai as well on the 4th leg. And we'll be ending in Miami. Sorry, I didn't say all of the locations there, but we'll also be in Australia, Madrid, and Brazil. And so that gives us a nice tumble dryer of cultures in all these different places, each one a different episode, and then one episode at the start to show all of the preparation we've been doing. Now, James mentioned his work. Thankfully, they were our earliest supporter. The Sovereign Group came on board as a sponsor, and we're also working with the Sovereign Art Foundation to support underprivileged children through this endeavor. And that was fantastic. We also have the Brain Performance Center helping us, which might be where James is right now. But it's James and I have been spending huge amounts of time doing physio, hyperbaric chamber treatment, working with a nutritionist, coming up with a blueprint for this challenge, because it's not something that you can find a training program for. It's quite different to anything out there. So that's vastly changed our version of the 9 to 5 over the last couple of months.
Brilliant. And the perfect segue, actually, before we jump into the break, is that coming up next, we're going to be talking about how they prepared about this whole event, getting themselves ready for it. We mentioned brain, we mentioned nutrition. I'm going to dive into that straight after the break. So stay tuned for more on the only place to be at 3, the halftime show on Pulse 95 Radio. Salam and welcome back to the halftime show. If you're like me and itching to get more of this content, do follow us on YouTube at Pulse 95 Radio, and all of our podcasts are on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud. Just before the break, we were diving into it literally with Paris Norris and, of course, James Elliot. And we were talking about preparing for this insane challenge ahead. But what I'm interested in is about the nutrition side and about the preventative physio side. I'll start with you, James. What have you guys done to get yourselves ready for that aspect?
Okay. I'm going to take you back to the start where Paris and I were. I had a pretty good base fitness. Paris, not so much. Paris, I think, will openly admit that he was maybe in less form as he is now. So we had different journeys. Okay, I went out the stable doors very quickly. Wanted to get into running. We took on a running coach quite quickly as well for a month or so, trying to learn the technique. I was actually quite surprised how technical running actually is. Instead of just dusting off your trainers and going for a run, I recommend highly that you invest in a running coach, someone that you can engage with, because that will change any potential injuries, and learning that technique will hold you in good stead. Fast forward through the summer, both of us went back to the UK, and we were doing a lot of running. That was our ethos: a lot of running, a lot of mileage. If you're going to run a long way and you're going to do an event like this, you need to run, right? We then actually stumbled across through mutual friends another running coach, and he gave us a little snapshot of actually maybe we should change our thought process and not necessarily do huge long runs, but more intense runs and do them more often. So we've actually been going down that route recently. Myself, I've been injured for quite a while now. So I was in a really good place back in November. Um, and and I've been through quite a lot of pain. I'm not gonna lie. It's I've been in with the physios twice a day, 2 hours a day, hyperbaric chambers, and even sometimes having to do hyperbaric chambers twice a day as well. All trying to get me ready for what's only nearly under 10 days away. A lot of needling, a lot of electrodes with electronic currents going through. So that'll be shown in the docu-series, I'm sure, with my leg being impulsed everywhere. It's been a lot of pain, a lot of sometimes a lot of tears. I'm a bit anxious about it, but the team at Brain Performance Company and the physios, especially, and the care team, I can only take my hat off to them. They've been exceptional. They've got us to a place that Paris will probably also back this up and say that he's now in a place physically that I think he's really happy with. And myself, I'm probably going to be on a lot of painkillers throughout this journey. And instead of it being for time now, it's now just completion for me. But it's for such a good cause, as Paris mentioned earlier, that should drive us through.
Yeah.
Hi, Paris.
Do you want me to add to that as well?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, that it's going to be one hell of a story. James has gone through hell, as you can hear. If you're ever walking around JVC at some time, JLT, at any time in the morning, at pretty much any corner, you can hear him scream in the from the physio room.
Maybe
Um,
JVC as well, to be honest.
Maybe JVC. You might even be able to get it in Sharjah, up where you are, Omar, because he's really been through a lot. But James started this challenge with a disability in his left foot, and that has made what was interesting about the tests that we did early on is it showed how our body is placing pressure throughout when we run. And when you have any type of injury or a disability, what that means is you then overcompensate on other sides. Compound that with huge amounts of volume of training, and you can get an injury quite quickly. So this is I've come from a very unfit place and now in a good place. James has come from a very fit place now into an area where it's like, how is he going to get through it? So it's going to be a story, whatever happens.
It sounds brilliant. It's the other thing I want to ask you guys about, and I've interviewed athletes from all around the world, especially with what James was talking about, he was going through in Paris, obviously, what you've encountered as well. How much have you relied on discipline over motivation in getting through these different hurdles?
Yeah. So I'm a firm believer in discipline will outperform any motivation in any segment of your life. If you don't have the discipline, no matter how motivated you are, you won't turn up on a consistent basis. So discipline is paramount of importance, and that comes down to organization as well, making sure that you've planned your day. Going back to the summer days when I was actually running, sometimes it was a lot of the time it was up at 4 a.m. Because that was the only time you could really run. Evenings were far too humid. Even the mornings were humid, but to get that cool run for 2 or 3 hours, you needed to do it at that time. So the discipline when no one's watching, only you, and you've got to stare at yourself in the mirror at the end of the night doing your teeth. And if you haven't done that run, it gnaws away at you. So discipline is huge. And you can portray that into every aspect of your life, work, relationships, friendships, whatever it might be. Discipline, making sure you're staying in contact with people, making sure that you are communicative, making sure that you are doing the right things and not becoming complacent.
And
Yeah, I
Paris?
think, can I just add to that? I think discipline's what keeps you going when your motivation is down. And the thing is, motivation goes up and down with your energy, with all sorts of things. It's not permanent, that's for sure. When you need the consistency over such a long period of time of training, like I said, we've been doing this for about a year now. It's actually the times where you have no motivation that matters. And, proud to say that there was times where I really didn't want to get up at 5. But I did it, and that's where discipline comes in, and it keeps you consistent.
Brilliant. Right. We're going to dive into the mental aspect right after the break with the fantastic gentlemen here, Paris Norris and James Elliot on the halftime show. Salam and welcome back to the halftime show. As you know, I am a geek when it comes down to these things, but the mental aspect of fitness really intrigues me. And having obviously put Reset down, I wanted to ask the gentleman here, and I'm going to start with you this time, Paris. In terms of, you spoke about the Brain and Performance Center a little bit earlier, and you spoke about running and the challenges and discipline over motivation. But where do you go mentally when you're going for your runs or taking on these massive challenges?
Yeah, look, I think we all deal with things in different ways, and I'm certainly a completely different person when training as when competing. And when competing, I certainly go into a completely different zone, which I quite simply cannot maintain on a daily basis or on a trained basis because it takes everything out of me. But we spoke about the discipline. For me. I have to find a way to mentally connect with the enjoyment of a challenge. So I'm not somebody who just goes to the gym and keeps fit on a daily basis. James is, right? James will keep fit when he's got nothing to train for. He's kept fitness throughout his life, which is amazing. After I did the row across the Pacific, I didn't train at all, and I got heavy. I got unfit because I had nothing to work on. But when I can fixate my mind on a challenge that I think, right, this is great. This is great for me. This is great for my career. This is something I want to do. I have to really want to do it and enjoy it. And I'm excited by things like going to Antarctica, which I've never been to. Seeing all these places that I'm going to go, and I know the only way that I can do this is I've got to get good at training. And I think about these things as I'm running. Especially recently, I've been getting more excited. If anybody's seen me running around wherever it is I am, I'm looking very animated, doing all of this and stuff because I'm getting excited about going away to these places. So that's what I fixate on. I fixate on the things that I'm going to enjoy.
Mm.
I think I'm pretty much chalk and cheese here because I quite like going into that dark hole of trying to push yourself as much as you can. It's in a way it's a frustration for me that I can't do this for speed and time because of my injury. But in a way, I'm gonna find out more about myself because of it. I do like going into runs or long rows. I row on my balcony in the heat of the summer. I like pushing my body to extremes because you don't know until you've actually been pushed to that limit of where your limit actually is. Most people's limit they've never found. And that could be in anything. It's like going to the gym. Your failure is probably not your actual failure. So it's pushing yourself constantly. What else motivates me is the children. I'm a father of two. When this opportunity came around, I really do like doing things for greater causes. There's a famous quote saying to know that you've made one person breathe easier is to know you've succeeded. And I really drive that home. So what we're doing is we're raising significant funds and awareness for the Sovereign Art Foundation, and Sovereign Art Foundations use art therapy to help kids that have gone through all sorts of traumatic experiences, trafficking. They may have been orphaned. They might have mental disabilities. And I've actually seen firsthand the experience and the transformation from day one onwards these kids get. So that really does motivate us and keeps us going and making sure that we're going to complete this.
Something else I wanted to ask you about, and because Paris mentioned it about yourself, James, in in staying fit and getting fit, rather than connecting, how do you disconnect from the noise with all the responsibility that
Yeah,
you have with, like you said, your kids and with everything
yeah.
that you're going through?
Um, I think meditation for me, I meditate twice a day in the morning and in the evening. To start with, it's quite a lot of work and it's not something you can just jump everything into. You can't do all of this straight away, you know. And if anyone tells you you can, it's a bit mad. But if you have the drip effect, so you change one controllable in your life, maybe it's your diet, maybe it's your sleep, then you can move on to the next stage and slowly, and this has happened over 20 years or more for me. So when you add in a new aspect to your life and your discipline, your whole calendar and your whole organization changes with it. And then you're then topping up rather than, transforming your life. But when you do small changes, they add up to huge changes. So yeah, meditation for me is probably my most go-to thing to relax and switch off. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to sit down and do meditation. It could be all sorts. It could be exercise for some. It could be walks. It could be listening to music. It could be Tai Chi. You name it. There's different ways of switching off. But getting away from the distraction of the day-to-day hustle and bustle, the doom scrolling, the in all matters effect, the too much boozing, that's going to affect your life going on. So yeah, it's there's a lot of different ways of doing it, but find your North Star and you'll find it.
Do any of you practice breath work?
In meditation, I do sometimes, but it's something that can really be beneficial. We've actually been recommended it from the Brain Company as well. And it's something for sure we're going to have to consider on the plane journey to try and get our adrenaline down after running so many marathons.
Mm. I'll tell you, Wim Hof is coming to Sharjah on the first, so that's going to be interesting. Can't wait to touch on that.
Nice.
That's going to be wicked.
Exciting.
Yeah, yeah, really, really good. Right, okay, guys, we're almost at full time on the halftime show, but you know what? We got one more segment coming up, and we'll be doing that right after the break. Salam and welcome back to the halftime show on Pulse 95 Radio with myself, Omar Duri, live in the heart of Sharjah. I actually want to bring these two back into the studio once they're done conquering this incredible challenge. It's been great to have Paris and James here on the halftime show. Guys, before I let you go, please tell me the dates and the location of where this challenge is going to take place.
Right, we're starting off on the 31st of January in Antarctica. That will be our first marathon. Then we're going to be in South Africa on the 1st of February, followed by Perth on the 2nd of February. On the 3rd of February, we'll be in our homeland back here in the UAE. And then we will be in Madrid on the 4th, the 5th in Fortaleza, Brazil, and finishing finally on the 6th in Miami.
Insane. Tell me more, James.
Right. So please do follow us on Instagram. It's Strides for Good. You've probably seen the logo on Paris's shirt. We're doing it for an amazing cause. Paris and myself are going to be going through blood, sweat, and tears here. As Paris has mentioned, we're going to all these different continents in 7 days. We're going to be jet lagged. We're not really sure what day it is. The pain is going to be real. We really, really trying to do it for a great cause. So please do follow us. It does help with all the sponsors. They get the exposure that they need, and it helps the children as well. Really big please from the bottom of our hearts, do follow us and enjoy our journey if you can.
Make sure you do follow them one more time. Remember that you can catch the episode if you've missed it today and you're just tuning into the last part. What an episode it was. Having both the gentlemen here, James Elliott and Paris Norris, here on the halftime show. We'll be also keeping tabs of how well they're doing. We're going to start manifesting good stuff as they conquer this journey. And of course, if we get any updates from them, we will drop them here on Pulse 95 Radio so you can keep track if you're not following them already on their accounts. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much for having us.